Hello, welcome back to the third episode of Kyle's podcast of self reflection. As you can tell from the title, I am your host, Kyle, and this is my podcast of self reflection. Last episode, I only gave you guys about like 15 minutes of what's it called? Content. Even though I shoot for typically like an hour and a half or an hour. So today will be known as the other 45. I have a lot of things to talk about. So let's dive right in them. So first off, what came in the mail today, and I'm very excited, and this is going to sound weird, especially if you're a sports fan, and you'll understand what I'm saying. Me and my father, who is away at the moment, by the way, more Kevin Kyle Play episodes coming soon. I just need to edit them and get off my lazy ass. But me and him are starting a jersey collection, but I wanted it to be like, what's it called? Unique in the fact that, like, sure, you could collect the jerseys of like every great player that's ever played the game, or you could pick the worst quarterbacks drafted in the first round since 1999. And in came 19. Well, okay, this some of them were a bit like were cheating, like a little bit. Like I think I put Vinny Testaverde on there, but he was drafted in '86. Ryan Leaf was on there; he was drafted in '98. I think there was like one other guy, but look, in my defense, let me pull it up. In my defense, Vinny Testaverde is like probably the most fascinating quarterback in my opinion. Now that's not saying he's good. He's fascinating because he has so good stats, but such a bad loss record. It's interesting to me how someone like with clear talent can also be so mediocre. Um, let's go into the worst QB draft by each team. Okay, so Ryan Leaf, he was drafted in '98. John Kitna for the Seahawks, he was drafted in '96, and then for Buccaneers, Testaverde, he was drafted in '87. Everyone else is like 1999 or above. So if we accept three, I kind of kept to that. But the Ryan Leaf one came in, and I'm really excited. It actually is pretty comfortable, and it looks pretty slick, despite it being worn by. It wasn't a Game 1 jersey, by the way. I should make that clear. It's pretty solid. It's like real good. So I'm starting that, and I figured I'd do something interesting because I write down a lot of stuff that I'm constantly thinking, and I think I would like to share some of my thoughts that I've had in the past couple of weeks. So one thing I thought was important was I wanted to make a list of inspirations that I've had. Which I'm sure people like have like a mental list, but I'm one for like written down, like here are the people that I look up to that I took after, you know? So I'll read that list and I'll give a little explanation why for each one. Obviously, my mom and my dad. You know, they raised me. In my opinion, they raised me right. I'm going to add one right now. And they raised me to where my heart is filled with love and compassion. I ask a lot of questions, which I love to do. I feel an appreciation for structure. I could go on, and I think I'll dedicate like an episode to them. I'll start with the film guys. Like these are people in Hollywood making movies and such, and that would be Kevin Smith, who I absolutely adore because he makes me feel like making films is possible. If you know anything at all behind the backstory of Clerks, it's that he charged 3 credit cards, sold comic books. He didn't even have a boom stand. He just had like a hockey stick that he taped a microphone to, and he did it all in black and white because it was cheaper and the lighting wouldn't be a problem. And it's like one of the best cult classics of all time, in my opinion. And he's just like, if you listen to him talk, he's one of those people that he's like a nerd, like an everyman kind of, but in like a nerdy sense. But he also is very passionate about what he does, and that's admirable, and it kind of rubs off. Um, Jim Carrey for sure. I think more. This is more of a like I've seen him do stuff, and I'm like I want to do that. A lot. That's gonna be a lot of the guys on the list. Is like when you watch these people going up, and you're like, whoa, he's doing something really silly and getting paid for it. I want to get paid for it. But it's not just silly. He's an amazing serious actor too. So the Jackass crew. But here's why. I already put one of them down by name, and I'll get to him in a bit. Um, if you look at Jackass, and it's such like a silly concept of like it's basically Stuntman the movie of like what stupid shit can we do, and like people would think is entertaining. And I always say, you know what? If they could make three Jackasses plus a TV show out of this concept of just doing stupid stunts, then it's got to be possible for me to make it into the business. And a lot of these stuff is like, if they can do it, so can I. Adam Sandler, mostly because he was like, to me when I was growing up, the funniest guy ever. Like, and I'm smart enough now to know when like movies of his aren't great, but oh, he was hilarious growing up, and I was like, well, I want to do the funny too. And this is where I get into comedy. It's like he was funny in a silly, childish way that kind of really appealed to me. And then as you grew up, you still found movies you liked, but overall, the ones you thought were silly and goofy were just silly and goofy, and you wanted something more like tasteful, where like the jokes were smarter. And that's where I get to Mel Brooks and Monty Python. It's like the jokes were smarter. They reached me at a young age. They were very funny, and it's hilarious. They're just really overall funny, and I can't recommend these guys' movies enough. Now we're gonna get into a weird bit with wrestling because I was into WWE growing up, and it's mostly the Hardy Boys and DX, and I think it's the same. The Hardy Boys was mostly for my edgy side, my like anti-form side. Like if you watch the Hardy Boys, the WWE administration clearly didn't believe that they could do it, that they could win championships as a singles, that they were meant to stay forever in the tag team, and they proved them wrong, and that's why they're one of my favorites. And DX was very anti the man, anti whatever, but they were also that Adam Sandler stupid kind of comedy, but in a professional sports setting, which made it all the more better. And then we get into YouTubers, but I'm talking like early, like these guys were popular in the early 2000s. And some were still today, but like these guys I grew up watching, which is Rich Alvarez and the entire cast of Stupid Mario Brothers, Blame Society Films, which is Matt Sloan, Aaron Yonda, Jason Stevens, and everyone else that works over there. Barely Political, which is now Barely Productions, or the Key and Vossum, Mark Douglas, those guys. Is it a good idea to microwave this? Joy Karen, Jonathan Paula, Riley McElwain, Corey, Mr. Safety Williams, and pretty much a bunch of people from Rooster Teeth. I grew up watching Stupid Mario Brothers, and it was such a silly concept. And it worked so well because it was silly, but then it got serious. And when it got serious, it wasn't like awkward serious, like, whoa, this is awkward. It led into it, and it was beautiful. And it was natural, and it was like, yeah, this actually works really well. Blame Society has done a lot of silly sketches that I like. The Gay Leprechaun, to me, is like one of the funniest bits that they've ever done. And then they have like this consistent series, and people are always like, well, I don't know if you can make board games funny because you're just watching people play board games, but Beyond Board Games is one of the funniest shows on YouTube, period. Not only because, like, sure, they get drunk and they do silly things, but because everyone's reactions to what everyone else is doing is real. So it's real. It makes you feel like you're in on the fun, and I really like that. And Welcome to the Basement just makes me even more interested in movies than I am. And if you have seen Is It a Good Idea to Microwave It, it's that same silliness and that stupidity that just works so well to pique someone's interest. And also it's like interesting. It's like, can you put this in a microwave? Corey, Mr. Safety Williams, he's really the one that like got me into vlogging. Like, I didn't really like vlogging. I didn't like watching vlogging, and then I watched him vlog, and I was like, you know what, this isn't bad. And I put off vlogging for a while, but like he's still like, it's something about being a genuine good guy that he is, and like you watch him and you like, go you. And then everyone from Rooster Teeth kind of made me want to get into production and producing. Like Immersion wanted me to like see how far you could take it, and like it got me into gameplays. I should also put Game Grumps on here because they very much are part of this. But it's at what they did as individuals. Like Game Grumps started with JonTron and Ego Raptor, as everyone knows. But I was more in it for Ego Raptor, and JonTron was like a plus. And then it introduced me to Dan, and Dan's music has like touched me on an emotional level. And Ego Raptors, when he talks about video games and like game design, it fascinates me and it makes me want to be into game design. And we'll use that as a transition to the next guy, which is Ken Levine. He made the Bioshock series. That's pretty much all. Like, but it's his storytelling skills that like really get to me. I forgot to mention Tom Ridgewell and Epic and ERB. Well, okay. I find Thomas Ridgewell, is an interesting comedian because he takes the silliness of like those Adam Sandlers, those DXs, those SMBs, but he mixes it with Monty Python and Mel Brooks so that it's like smart, serious comedy. But smart, silly comedy. So like the jokes aren't just like a fart joke. It's like an elaborate build up to this stupid joke, but it's so funny because it's so elaborate and unnecessary. Like I love his baby one, like Baby with a Gun, or Fireman. And then ERB, I was very into ERB. I still am. They're good guys. And ERB kind of like piqued my interest because of what you could do on such a short budget. Like some of the early stuff they had was on like $200, and they made it and it blew up, and then that led them to getting more stuff. And then off of ERB, I joined a community called Epic Rap Battle Parodies, which had Xander, Justin, Froggy, Cam, Matthew, Frenzy, London, Nathan, Hunter. I'm forgetting some other people's names, but that was like the first community I was in, and I'm very thankful for them because it kind of like I was working hard on these raps that were someone else's ideas. And speaking of ideas, I really like this jersey, man. Like even if it is Ryan Leaf, it's still like comfy. I often will write down ideas of like things that I want to do. I'm gonna take the jersey off just because I want to wear it tomorrow. Hold on, give me one hot second. That's me setting the headphones down. I'm still gonna talk because that's what I do best. Talk. All right. But I have like tons of written ideas down that never get made either due to lack of skill, lack of funding, or lack of time, or just lack of motivation. There's always a lack of something. I have a bunch of animated series that I would like to do, but I don't know how to draw well enough for it to be entertaining to watch. So I think that's something I'm going to be working. I have a lot of stuff I'm going to like say I'll be working on, and what that means, because I know I'll repeat it a lot, is basically over the many years of me focusing on this as a career, I want to try and pick up new skill sets so that I can do these things. It's not going to happen immediately, and it's not my main focus. My main focus will always be mental, like health, education, and I guess family. But I can include friends and family, so it's like my social life as like the people around me that I care about, my own health, mental and physical, and then education, what I can always be learning. So I have like a bunch of cartoon ideas. I have an album idea that I want to do, but that requires playing an instrument. And live show ideas. I have amazing live show ideas, but the main reason I can't do those isn't because it's expensive or anything hard. I don't have an audience yet, so I think I'm saving those ideas. I'm very insecure about my ideas. I don't like sharing a lot of them. The ones that I do share are like less likely to be made, or I'm just like, this is an idea I want to do. I will share one though. I have a dog, and his name's Ollie, and he's a very good boy. And he was a rescue because someone left him on the side of the road, which is stupid. And he's so happy and he's so fun. I thought, what if I made a kid's book about him, just like going on adventures and like stuff like that. I think it'd be kind of cute for like a kids series. And I have like comic book ideas and poem ideas and all these just like stuff that I say stuff. But like just all these things that I'm like one day, and when I say one day, it often gets made fun of because it's like, well, then it's never gonna fucking happen. And sure, it might not, but like one day, it will happen, and you better fucking be ready. And on the last episode, I said this is gonna be a preachy one. I think all of them, in a way, are going to be preachy, but that's just like the feel of the show is me just kind of spitting out, like, I've dealt with this shit, but this is how I look at it. Mostly to like reassure my confidence, but also like if anyone's listening that's like, I'm going through a rough time and they hear this, they're like, oh, snap. Here's how I can kind of cope with it. Whatever. I think it's interesting to me that I'm making these podcasts. This is also these podcasts will be very meta, like extremely. But I find it interesting because I've struggled for a long time to kind of talk by myself and kind of, make up content by myself. And I found that to be difficult because of what others thought of me. Like when a fellow YouTuber comments on a video and I see it and I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. But if someone in real life comes up to me and says, hey, I watched your video, all I think is, oh no, what's wrong? And that was like because I started making videos like 8 years ago when I was in middle school. And now I kept going all the way through high school and now into college. And one of the things you learn is that people are going to criticize you, and you just kind of got to take it and keep moving forward, because if you don't, then that's going to slow you down. So I view my college career as recovering from all the psychological damage from high school and middle school and elementary school, and kind of twisting it around and turning my experiences into power. Oh, here's something, because I just referenced it by accident. I'm all caught up on My Hero Academia, which is an anime about hero school, basically, like these kids that have superpowers and they all, or quirks as they call them, and they all like go to this high school. It's really good in the fact that like if you watch it, they're saying a lot of stuff that like as an adult you're like, how do I deal with this? And they say it, and then you like decipher it, and you're like, oh snap, that's how. And I'm sure that's not its intention. Its intention is to entertain, and it is very entertaining. The fight scenes are really cool and such. But one thing I learned from it is even when things get rough, you gotta just smile through it because it helps. And like that may sound ridiculous, but if you think about it, if you have a positive attitude in a negative situation, then it's not really a negative situation as much anymore because you're bringing that positive attitude. Like if someone's making fun of the way you look and you just kind of laugh with them, they're like, sure, they'll think it's okay, but you know your truth. So if you laugh, they're not going to pick on you for much longer just because that's not the reaction that they want. And man, I got to get better at these transitions because right now they're just so fucking cold. Oh, here's one thing I wanted to talk about. I want to start reviewing stuff like movies or games or music, just because I think I have an interesting view on them. Although I'm sure every reviewer has said that like my view on this is correct or whatever. I don't fucking know. But like for example, I've been playing a lot of, oddly enough, My Hero Academia. It's a new game that came out, and I like it. It's good. But I think it's good for different reasons than one would consider. It's not a perfect game in any sense. It's more like a good mechanical game, but the story is like, basically, there's been two, as far as my knowledge, My Hero Academia games. And one is the new one, one's Justice, and then one is the older one, which was Battle for All. That's it, right? Yes, Battle for All. So basically, Battle for All was on the DS, and then the new one came out on Xbox One, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. The difference is barely there. There isn't really much of a difference between the two. Battle for All was like this open, like if you've played Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, that open ring where you could just rotate around and like go pretty much anywhere. There's that kind of playthrough. I think one person said it was like Naruto, but reskinned with My Hero, and I would agree. And the controls in both are very nice. The story is basically, look, if you watch the anime, you don't need to play the story, because the story in Battle for All is just season, I want to say 1, and then the one in the new game is like season 3, or season 2 into season 3, and the other one season 1 into season 2. So the story's kind of lackluster. And Battle for All only came out in Japan, so obviously they're not going to have an English dub. However, One's Justice came out in English, and like you would expect an English dub, but that's not really, I'm not taking away anything from it, because the Japanese voice acting's still good. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't understand Japanese, but I can probably guess what they're saying. The subtitles are in English, so you like know it's just like, look, when it comes to sub or dub, I would choose dub just because, and I like understanding what the characters are saying. But I can understand why people would like sub, just because they can understand what the words are saying on the bottom of the screen. But the voice acting matches up, and it's real nice. So there's that. Overall, I think the controls, I think it's clunky for the Switch. Not when you have both controllers plugged into it, like when you hold in the whole pad itself, but when you're like playing 2-player, it's kind of difficult because the controllers are so tiny, and like your special moves take a while, and allies are a nightmare. But I'm sure on other consoles it's perfectly fine, because it's a full controller. What other games just came out? There's a new Madden, but I haven't played it because, I'm not paying money for that. Man, I'm bad at these transitions. I don't know what it is, but I find like statistics fascinating. Which is weird because of how like stats and statistical analysis are viewed. They're viewed as like, oh, numbers, oh, math, oh, hard. But they're like a measurement, at least to me. It's not like I'm doing extra math. They're a measurement of something. Like they show progression or degression depending on who you follow. And I like stats in football. It adds to my love of football, and because of my fascination with these stats, it's changed my view of football. I used to view football as any football fan. I had my team, and I wanted them to win. And now it's like, well, I have my team. My team's the New England Patriots, and I want them to win. But also, it's like I'm looking at these other teams. I'm like, well, all these other teams are good too, so I'd like to see them do well, and I'd like to, see people put up good numbers, and once you start following all the teams, then you follow all the players, and then you can really get into an argument, like a good debate over like who's better than who, because then you have an understanding of it. And I think kind of understanding statistics is not a necessity, but like it's important to have some basic understanding of it. Moving on from that, I have 2 job interviews. I won't say with who. One's working with, well, I won't even say that, but one job interview was very interesting because it's like she didn't want to hire me. I don't think it was that. It's like one of those tactics that bosses do where they kind of like make the job sound worse than it actually is, and like more of a hassle, and like to see if you'll stay committed. And I am. It's a good job. It's not that far, and I like it. And the other one, I wouldn't mind doing that one either. There's nothing wrong with having 2 part-time jobs. And like you'll get paid like $60 a weekend, and I'll be like, well, that's not bad. And they're like, is it? And I'm like, no, it's not. That's money. That's another viewpoint I have, is I don't really view money as a necessity. I mean, I do, obviously, because it is. But that just negated what I just said. I view it as a necessary evil. Like, yeah, we live an environment where that monetary device is needed in order to survive. Like, we can't change it now. I'm sure we could, but it would take years to convince people. I view it as like just a thing. Like, money is not everything. There's no way. Human connections to me are more valuable. And money can aid in that, in the fact that you can buy gifts for people, you can donate to charity, you can, help someone pay for something that they need or they want. Like, money, as evil as it is, can be used for good. But I don't think it should get in the way of people's connections. Like, I'll dead ass buy my friend a game, like if it's a $5 game on Steam, right? Like, and I got it, and I need someone to play it with. I said, hey, you should get this game, and they're like, "But I don't have money." I'm like, "Well, I'll buy it for you," and they'll be like, well, "Okay," and then we'll play, and that's adds to the connection of the fun of the game. I think people perceive money as like the key to success, and I agree that it's a part of it. I don't agree that having a lot of money means you're successful. I think means you're wealthy, but I think, to me, success is like if you've reached a lot of people and kind of affected their lives in a positive way, that's success. Like, anybody that is a part of a charity or donates to a charity or runs a charity, that's successful. You're helping people. Like, you're helping people live. Success is when you not only help others, but you also help yourself and like do what makes you happy, and also like help others on their way to making themselves happy. I think anybody that's like a humanitarian is the word, maybe. Anyone that's like a good person to other people is successful in my eyes. Anyone that like spreads a message of like, hey, I love me and I love you, in a non-creepy way, I guess I should add that. It's, to me, like, and success is such a weird word because people deem it as this ultimate big thing, like living in a mansion with like 12 cars and such. But it's like, nah, dude, you can just chill in an apartment and like help out others and make yourself happy. You don't gotta do all that. I never really realized how hard it is to just kind of riff for 45 minutes until I started doing this. And thank you all for bearing with me as I try to like figure out what the heck do I talk about. Because I don't plan this. It's just like an outlet where I just talk for a while and get things off my chest, or then maybe put things on my chest. Who knows what's going on my chest? That's so dirty, but please don't take it that way. Whew. I think this past 2 weeks, have been extremely interesting based on just how they've been like a roller coaster of emotions. Like, yesterday was election day, and that was fucking nuts. Not nuts, but like it was stressful. Because I had a test that day, and I was like, I better fucking ace this. And last Wednesday was like, as you guys know, was the protest thing, and that was crazy, and that's been a ride. And like so many people, like I don't know what it was on Monday or like yesterday, but it was such a downer. Like, everyone was just fucking depressed. Like, my friend was depressed because so much shit was happening in her life, and then so much shit was happening in my life. And this is just an example, but like on that day, Game Grumps uploaded an apology video for Girl Grumps for like not doing it and whatever, and was like genuinely upset. And I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck is happening? I think it's just a rough time, like, in the world right now. And we all get caught up with something, and we all get stressed, and we all forget stuff. And I think, and this is why I love the Game Grumps community, bringing it back to them, is they all are very forgiving people. Because if you put out a message of acceptance and love, and like the Game Grumps do, like they accepted so many people, they love so many people, And like I know for a fact Danny loves all his fans, then they're just gonna give that right back. They're just like, yes, we also love you. You are also a good person. So watching someone that's like so positive and loud and funny and stuff be like depressed, you're like, oh shit, this is not good, because this is not what he normally is like, or this is not what he typically appears to us. And I don't know, it's just sad to kind of watch. Like I couldn't get through the whole video. I absolutely could not. I'm just laughing at like some My Hero stuff, pretty much. Nothing super. There's a card game? I want a card game. That's pretty solid. I didn't know there was a card game. Oh, there's a My Hero app. Hold on, I gotta download that now. Sorry, I'm like, this is such a wreck of a fucking podcast. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Any other way. Does it not exist? Am I just crazy? I don't think it exists. What is happening? Oh. Oh. You gotta fucking install it on like a Japanese website. Alright. Well, I will do that later. I'm not recording currently. That was a solid 2 minutes of time wasted. But that's okay, because it makes this more real. I'm a very meta human being. Like, so I'll often talk about my feelings and emotions openly, because I'm just like, well, here's the kind of person I am. And I'll just go into like everything that I like and how I react to stuff and all that. And I think that's kind of important in a way. I think if you're very open and you're very like accepting and stuff, then people can't judge you. Well, they can, because if you do something silly, they'll be like, that was silly. But like, people can't judge you as a human if you're very open about who you are. Like, here's who I am. Then it's like, well, you can't have any misconceptions about that. Like, you can't really twist that into anything negative if you accept it. Like, I'm a hypocrite. I'm very hypocritical. And I don't do it in like a negative way per se. I kind of do it while I'll like say something, and then while I'm like saying that thing, I'll think of like a counterpoint to my own point, and then I'll like say that, and then people will be like, wait, but you just said this. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like always thinking, so I'm like always trying to say stuff, and then I realized what I said. Like, okay, example was like, I agree with this one guy about classic rock and how Nirvana was not classic rock, and then I realized that classic rock isn't a genre. It's a grouping of different genres that is placed in a time period. Specifically, I think it'd be 50s to 80s. Like, that's what I would assume people would define as classic rock. And I realized it's not that. Like, I mean, I realized it's like Nirvana. One, it would fit into that era. It would, like, they started around 80 something. But you can't just say, well, Led Zeppelin's classic rock. Actually, no, it's a form of metal. With some stuff, I think Iron Maiden's more metal, but like, I don't even know. I've lost the point entirely. Let's jump to another random subject. I saw The Godfather recently for the first time ever, And it was quite a fascinating movie. Like the way Coppola just does these shots is like very intriguing. Like the door frame shots, kind of isolating. I'm gonna spoil this, so if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend go watching it. But like isolating Michael at the end, signifying that he is alone here. And the ending was like really solid. And then also like another door frame shot where it shows the isolation of, I don't know, some brute, I forget his name, and that kind of signified that he's alone, so he'll probably die. Um, the story was a roller coaster ride. What it did for me was it made me like question a lot, and then it provided answers to the questions I had, and it gave me false hope, which is something I kind of love in movies. Is like it leads you to believe one thing, and then it gives you something completely different, and you're like, wait, what? Holy shit! Uh, like when Carlo died, I genuinely thought Carlo was just gonna get away on a plane, and then like, but he ended up dying. I was like, oh fuck, that's crazy. I thought Don Corleone died originally, but apparently he survived it, and I was like, damn. It really was, in this fact, Game of Thrones because characters just died left and right, and you go like, okay, well, that's a thing. And I think it definitely deserves to be on like the top 100 list of the greatest movies of all time. It's actually number two. It's number two, right behind Citizen Kane. That's another thing I've started. I've started to watch 3 different AFI like top something lists. Like I have the top 25 greatest movie musicals of all time, which is bullshit because Little Shop of Horrors isn't on there, and Rocky Horror Picture Show isn't on there, and Unsingable Molly Brown, and fucking Thoroughly Modern Millie. I don't think Music Man's on there either. No, it's not. But fucking Moulin Rouge is, and I don't like Moulin Rouge. That's just me, though. Also, the 100 funniest American movies of all time. A lot took place in the 20s and 50s and 40s, which is like that's a different comedy style right there. Oh boy, I'm tired. Sorry for yawning. And then, of course, the 100 greatest movies of all time, American films of all time. Which I've actually seen. I think it was 1/5 of those movies, which is more than I thought. I think it was like 20 out of 100, which would be 2/10, which is 1/5. So I'm right. Yeah. Ooh, ASMR. Sorry about that. I don't know what I'm doing. 38 minutes. Has it been that long? Wow. I guess I'll start the decline of the podcast now. Well, not the whole podcast. I meant the episode, but you know what I mean. I have a whole carrot cake I need to eat. I gotta get on that. I don't know. Life's fascinating to me, like, because I'm viewing it from an outsider's standpoint, and it's like this thing where everyone's trying to understand it on a basic form, and we all come up with different meanings. And then if you really look at it at a mid level, that's what life's about, is coming up with a meaning for what life is about. And I find that extremely fascinating. I'm also going to talk about like dreams and stuff that I have on here. Oh wait, I didn't do the objective or the question. Damn. Oh fuck, I'm so glad I caught myself there. So the question, or no, the objective is to, I'd say collect more jerseys, but I got 2 coming in. To pass the test I have next week. That's a good objective to have. I would like to pass that test and hope that I've passed the one I took yesterday. And kind of just keep a positive attitude towards the upcoming weeks. And the question, well, we'll save the question for last unless I forget. What the fuck was I talking about? That's a part of the podcast. Oh, yeah, and if you look at, no, I already said that. Fuck, dude. I go off track, I really go off track. All right, let me think of a question. How many roads must a man walk down? No. Okay, here's a question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? And like, what would your superhero name be? That's a good question. That's pretty basic, but it's a conversation starter, you know? Oh, no, wait, here's a better one. Although you can still answer that question. I got a better one. Who in your life inspires you and why? That's a good question. I like that question. Who in your life inspires you and why? Because I was talking a lot about inspirations today, and I was feeling very inspired by these people today. And like, if you go back and watch them, I'm like, damn, that's some good stuff right there. And I think it's a healthy thing for people to often just look back and reflect on the life that they are living and like where they come from. I think it's important to reflect on the past so that you can learn from it and like use your experiences that you've experienced towards your future. And I think it's important to live in the present so that you can make more experiences and gain more knowledge. And then I think it's important to plan for the future because the future is unknown. In the fact that there isn't a pre-told story like waiting for you. You curve your own path. So if you kind of plan for it, then your path is made and you're like ready to rock and roll and stuff. And and like some people say, oh, I'm living in the past, or I'm living in the present, or like I'm living in the now, or I'm living in the future. I think it's important to live in all three. You be the past, you were the past, you are the present, and you will be the future. I think if you can just get those fundamentals down, then you're good, man. I was going to try and shoot for 45, but I don't know if I can make it. Well, you know what? Let's make it to 45. That's the short-term goal, because we're at 42, and if we get to 45, that's solid. Question of the day was, who inspires you and why? And I would walk 5. That song's copyrighted, and so is that at tune. Well, I guess I'll tell a story then. Not for me, but like last couple minutes, tell a short story. Once upon a time, there was a young lad named Timothy, and Timothy had an unusual spot on his nose. And one day, the spot grew and grew and grew until it was covering his whole body. Well, he didn't quite know what to do, so he went to his mother. And his mother screamed, "My God, what has happened to my son?" So then she took him to the doctor. And the doctor said, "My God, this is the worst case of black body spot that I know." And so he had surgery. And he got the spot removed, but he was never the same. For now, he could fly. And his mother was like, this will not do. I cannot have my son flying around the house. And the doctor was like, well, what would you like us to do? Put lead in his feet? And she said, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to make sure that he lives but never will fly again. So she tied him down and they put lead in his feet so that he was stuck to the ground. Now, Timothy was very happy to be alive, but sad to no longer use this ability, which he had. So he ran away, and he met a man who was a doctor. He asked the man, "Can you help me? Can you take the lead out of my feet?" And he said, "Better yet, I can take the lead out of your feet, and I can teach you wisdom." And he said, "All right, cool." And so the old man removed the lead from his feet. And Timothy began to fly. And then Timothy said, "Old man, what is the wisdom that you are to tell me?" And the old man said, "The wisdom which has been passed down from generation on to generation is this: thank you so much for listening to Kyle's podcast of self-reflection, and I hope to see you next time. But not actually see, because this is a podcast and I don't know what you guys look like. So I hope to hear you next time. The end.